you lift your hands to him tonight? Sing hallelujah. Just worship him, praise him, extol him, exalt him, bring him words tonight. Let it come from your heart. One more time.
All right, blessed morning, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of the No Conference. God bless you all. Good to have you here once again. I want to welcome our moderator to take over. Yes, she's here now. Over to you, Auntie Asha, Mrs. Emmanuel. You're welcome.
One more time. Can you lift your hands to him tonight? Sing hallelujah. Just worship him, praise him, extol him, exalt him, bring him words tonight. Let it come from your heart. One more time.
Hello. Hello, can everybody hear me? Hello. Hello, can everybody hear me?
We can hear you, ma. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm so sorry I'm on transit, but I just have to do this. Welcome to today's program. Can everybody hear me? Hello? Hello? Please, if you can hear me, can you
We can hear you. Go ahead.
put it on a okay? Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. You're welcome to today's program, another edition, another day for no conference. This is the fourth day, and of course, it has been an amazing time since the first day, the second day, the third day, and of course, the fourth day. Yesterday, we had a wonderful time, honestly speaking. We had Miss Kauna Bako. I mean, the parenting stuff was like it was an all-encompassing ingredients food. Like they were serving us everything, and then we had our BBO coming up with so much to learn about our teenagers and porn. And then towards in the evening time, we had our dear David Folaremi talking about water addiction. I'm very sure that if you were not able to watch the video, and I'm sure you can go back to our social media platforms and see. Okay, so my name is Mrs. Emmanuel. I'm the moderator for this session. Before we start, I want to encourage everyone to first of all share all these links to our platform, and then also we want to call out for testimonies. If you know that ATQ has blessed you, please try and share your testimony so that others can be encouraged. So thank you so much, Coach Taylor, for this wonderful opportunity to be here this morning. And I am very sure that today is going to be a wonderful time. Seeing the speaker of the day, one of my favorite moms. I'm just waiting to hear all the downloads this morning. So can we have our speaker introduce herself this morning? Thank you. We have Mrs. Bibora Yinkere this morning. Oh, good morning, Auntie Bibi.
Good morning, good
Good morning.
morning, Emmanuel. Good morning.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
my name is Bibora Yinkere, and I'm the convener of the Grace One's Prayer Support and Advocacy Initiative. It's a support group for special needs, and it's a parent support group. And I'm also the director of the School of Grace Learning and Vocational Center. It's a center for children with special needs, where we have the educational programs and also vocational activities. I'm also the director of Grace Lane Miracle Inclusive School. It's this inclusive by inclusive school. We mean it's a school where we have special learners and the neuro.
Mrs. Bibora Yinkere. Mrs. Yinkere is a woman, daughter of Zion, wife, mother, and a kingdom influencer. She is on a mission to rescue and preserve souls, especially those of children, youth, and children with disability. She holds a first degree in finance and banking, master's in environmental resource management, and master's in public administration. She is also undergoing mentorship as applied behavior analysis technician and dyslexia interventionist. Bibi, as she is popularly known, is the convener of the Graced Ones Prayer Support and Advocacy Initiative, a support group for the special needs, and director of the School of Grace Learning and Vocational Center, a special needs school being the educational arm of the NGO, and a special needs educator. Because of her love for education and the need to level up the gap between the rich and the poor, the neurotypical and neurodiverse learners, He has gone further to establish another school called the Graceland Miracle Inclusive School to improve social acceptance and foster inclusion. Bibora is a published author and a worker with over 28 years experience in children's ministry. Please welcome Mrs. Bibora Yinkere as she speaks on the topic raising children with special needs and inclusive society possible.
Thank you very much. So, like it was said before, my name is Bibi Yinkere, and I'm speaking on the topic raising children with special needs and inclusive society possible. Um, I'll be doing a lot of, um, I'll be giving a lot of examples, practical examples, because I really don't know who this audience is. This audience is not just, I don't think that I'm talking to a group of special parents. I believe I'm probably talking to the general public. So I'll be using very elementary terms, and I'll try to make it as practical as possible. But before then, I want to say thank you so much to um, Mrs. Oboko for this privilege. And I want to also thank, in fact, I really appreciate you, Stella, for all that you are doing. I remember we had a conversation about 2, 3 years ago, and so I remember how you started, and it's quite overwhelming what we are seeing and how diverse you are in the things that you do. And it is not about just being diverse, it's about doing these things that you do very well. So I want to congratulate you and your entire team. I want to thank also our Emperor for the day, Mrs. Asha Emmanuel. Thank you so much. You are all amazing. So it's um it's my privilege to be here this morning to talk about special needs. I didn't. It's a journey nobody plans for. It's a journey nobody plans for. So I didn't plan for it. I never dreamt about it. I don't think that God gave me a hint. If He did, I'm sure I would have begged Him. You know, but all the same, here we are. So before we address the topic directly, I'm going to do a lot of background talk. I'm going to spend just a little time talking about the topic itself. But because like I said before, I'm probably talking to the general public who don't even know much, who may not know much about special needs. I'm going to, start from what special needs is about, what that term is about. So when you say special needs, you just refer to a group of children, who have a different array of. I think I have some slides. I would like them to share if it's possible. As I speak, I would like the slides to be shared, please. So they have an array of diagnoses. This could be physical, it could be mental. So these children are born. Most of these conditions are I don't want to use the term birth defects. I don't want to put it that way, but it's more like that. These things are beyond the reach of the parents and the child or whoever. These children are just born with these conditions most of the time. So there are impairments that could be terminal. In some cases, they could be profound. There could be like profound cognitive impairment. There could be um, it could be physical too in some cases, and in some cases of special needs, you don't even, it's not obvious, it's not even, you really don't even know that this person is living with a special condition unless behavior brings the person out. We may not really know. So there are some examples of special needs. Now, when we say special needs, it's not far from disability. It's really not far from disability. We are just talking about people with disability. It's just that we are narrowing it down to children whose disability um, sprang from things that went wrong during conception, during pregnancy, during delivery, during the early life of the child. So that's just what we mean. It's not like maybe someone who was in an accident and somewhere got maybe an amputee or something like that. We are talking about children who live with conditions like autism, like Down syndrome, like cerebral palsy, learning disability, hyperactivity, and those kind of things. So that's what we are narrowing this discussion to. Children who live with these conditions. There are conditions that in most cases the parents cannot explain why their children live with these conditions. They don't know how it happened that the child is living with this condition. So, like I said, there are things that probably happened in the formation during this stage of pregnancy that happened along the line, but that doesn't make them any less than any other person out there. So, there are some basic examples of special needs. We have cerebral is a kind of special condition. We have Down syndrome. We have autism, and then these are the ones I want to narrow that it down to. And ADHD, that's attention deficient hyperactivity disorder. So these are some conditions that we have children living with. If we had our slides showing, I would show you. Yes, okay, I think they are coming up. So I will take them one by one. So we'll talk about autism. Autism is refers to a complex neurobehavioral condition that include impairment. It's a complex neurobehavioral condition that include impairment in social interaction. There are some keywords. So impairment in social interaction, developmental language and communication skill. Social interaction. Now, someone with autism, now if you look at this picture, I before now I had prepared similar slides to this, but I just like tweaked them a bit. Before now, when you go to Google, you just say, oh, images of people with autism. You just see images of white children, just white people, white people, white people. So what we decided to do, but that's changing anyway, because we in Africa, we are coming more to terms with these conditions that children live with. And so there's growing acceptance, and we are living with it, and we are speaking about it, and there's no shaming, and we are not giving anybody room to body shame our children. So this is a child that I know personally that is part of my life. I know him personally, and he's a child I'm proud of. He's struggling with some things which I will share, but I'm proud of him and his attempt to come out of his struggles. So now, autism, like we said, is complex. It's a complex condition. It's neurobehavioral. It's not, it's something, somewhere, somehow around the brain, and we don't know what exactly happened. There is no known cause, and there is no known cure for autism. There's no known cause, and there is no known cure for autism. At best, you manage the condition, and there are different ways we manage the condition. If this condition is not managed, we can't go further to have the conversation about inclusion. Do you understand? We can't go further to have a conversation about inclusion if the condition, if the basic things about this condition called autism is not managed. And this condition, we have said that it includes impairment in social interaction. So people with autism, they have a challenge interacting with people the way we would call normal, So you are likely to see a child with autism. Notice that someone with autism is hiding under the table, is putting his fingers in his ear, is not talking, like he is non-verbal. He's 10, in fact, he just turned 11 last week. He's not a voice. He hasn't said, he doesn't have any word, not even one word. But he has his ways of communicating. So someone not being non-verbal doesn't mean he doesn't communicate. A lot of people say, "Oh, children without special needs don't communicate." It's very wrong to say that. They communicate. It's just that they communicate in a way that, um, in non-typical ways. So they use their gestures, they communicate with their behavior and those kind of things. So he has people with autism are likely to have challenges with social interaction. They are not going to initiate conversation with you. They are not probably not going to look at you in the face for eye contact. But with management, these things get better. And then they have most of them have developed problem with their language. Some are not talking at all, like I said, he's non-verbal. Some are talking, but even when they talk, you they echo what you say. So, like they go to church, for instance, or they go to school, they keep quiet all through school time, and they get home, and the mother says, "How was school today? Would you like to eat?" And he's now saying two times, one, two, two times, two, four, that kind of thing. He's talking, but he's not talking appropriately. So there's somewhere along the line, there's an inappropriate social behavior with someone with autism. I went somewhere 3 weeks ago. I went for a dinner, and there was this young guy. I think he's like 17 or so, 16, 17. He's very tall, very cute. He was sitting opposite me. If I weren't someone who is into special needs, I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't have known that there was a challenge along the line, because he came, he greeted everybody, he took his food, he ate, and all of that. But I noticed that he was winking at me in a funny manner, and then he started trying to hit me on his legs under the table, trying to hit me. He was looking for contact here and there. So immediately I knew what the situation was, and I just smiled at him. I didn't say anything. Someone else who knows nothing about special needs will say that this child is not trained, this child is rude, oh, this child, they will even start saying, this is Gen Z children, look at the way this one is just winking at an elder, look at, that kind of thing. But immediately I was able to decode what the challenge was, So in those, when we come to inclusion, we will remember what I've just said. These are the kind of things that can make some parents feel reluctant to bring their children out. Even parents themselves, apart from the society, not even including the child, the parents themselves may not want the child out because of things like that. They are likely to have lots of sensorial issues. So the things that don't matter to you matters to them, upsets them. And because, like I said, they may not be verbal, or they may not even be communicating what's really on their mind. So because of that, they react in funny ways. They are likely to throw tantrums. They are likely to go into meltdowns. That the situation they think is just unbearable, they just go into a meltdown and they just do anything. Like I was watching a video of a woman sharing on Facebook about her daughter. The girl is 20 years old now. She lives with autism. So she said she was talking about autism and menstruation. So she was saying that when the girl started early, it wasn't easy. The menstrual, the pads, sanitary towels, they have these wings. So when they're like walking on the street, sometimes the wing comes out of place and starts like bruising the touching the skin. So that's feeling of the wings touching her skin would irritate her. But a neurotypical person, when I say neurotypical, I mean the people we call normal people, someone like that would immediately know that, okay, let me quickly go to the convenience to adjust this thing, or we just probably endure the condition, that particular inconvenience. This girl will just, wherever she is, even in the middle of the road, will just want to like raise up her dress and just take that thing off, because to her it's inconveniencing her. So these are some of the things that reasons why inclusion may be a bit of an issue, but when there's understanding, it can be managed. Some children with autism don't like, when we have t-shirts like this, we have labels at the back. Normal, whatever clothes, they like to have labels. They don't like that label touching their skin. I have my hair now touching my skin. For someone with autism, it may lead to a major problem. Doesn't want that. that person may go into a room and see that the tiles are not laid properly, probably, or a staircase, just maybe going to visiting an itchy or wherever with the parents, and they're just going and now sees that the staircase it was not well aligned. They go into a tantrum. I read the story about it, that a book a Sydney wrote that her elder sister was about 37, living with autism. So they went to the restaurant, and the what do they call them now? Those people that attend to us in restaurants, what do they call it? The salesperson. So the sales lady came, took their order, and then so she came, she was singing. She came again, she started, handing, she delivering their food to them and was singing. And she was singing out of tune. And this young lady was a perfectionist. She didn't like, it was irritating to her, but she couldn't say it because she was non-verbal. She couldn't say, stop that song, but you're not singing properly. So the way she could communicate that she wasn't pleased with that lady was to throw a tantrum. So, these are the things. They have behavioral issues, developmental issues with their challenges with their speech and communication. And then they may have repetitive behavior. A child with autism, he may like this pen, and that's all he wants to hold on to the rest of the day. He can hold on to this pen for 1 year, and he doesn't want a replacement. And even when the parents take it away and buy a similar pen, he may react because he knows the feel of the pen he likes. So repetitive behavior, they like a particular song, they like a particular food, they just go on and on. Now that is not a typical behavior, and it's difficult to cope. It's difficult. Imagine that kind of child is in school and he just wants to stay on one subject, So it's a challenge, and the society needs to understand these things to know how to manage people with special needs before we say we want to include them in anything that we are doing. And autism is a condition that has a late onset. So you can have a child, the child was born, the child looks like, looking at this child, you can't see anything. I was particular about picking this picture because you can't see anything from his look. They usually say, we have this thing we say in Nigerian palace, autism, no, they show for face. Looking at his face, you can't see autism. It's his behavior that will give him away. His behavior is what will give him away. And then from birth, they are normal, they are regular. Most of them even gain speech. They start talking, they interact well, they have friends, they smile at people, they recognize family members, and they are just fine. Then from maybe 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, some have started school and preschool. All of a sudden, the teachers will begin to discover that this child is not interacting the way other children are. This child is not really following instruction, because sometimes we think that they are having their hearing impaired, maybe they are deaf or something. Yes, some have, because autism may affect hearing, it may affect sight, it may affect other things. But in most cases, they hear. It's just that they may even not respond to you. So the parents or the teachers begin to notice that, I see that this child is not hearing, you see that this child, that kind of thing. So then along the line, maybe 4 or 5 years or so, they may now come out claiming that this is autism. But it doesn't start early. So most people, there's always a misconception about autism. Because when you have your child, he's talking, has words, he's playing, he's coming to hug you when you return from work, and suddenly the child withdraws, you think that the child has been jazzed. So that's autism. We can move on to the next slide. That will be Down syndrome. So the picture we have here is of my daughter. Her name is Miracle. She lives with Down syndrome. Now, Down syndrome is a congenital disorder. It arises from a chromosomal defect. Now, nobody knows exactly what led to that chromosomal defect. But we have 23 chromosomes. So there's a duplication, so we have 46. So along the line, when these chromosomes are dividing, splitting into two, chromosome 21, for no known reason, now splits and becomes 3. So at the end of the day, rather than having 46 chromosomes like every other person has, Miracle, for instance, that's her name, has 47 chromosomes. That 21st chromosome multiplies into 3. That's why World Down Syndrome Day is celebrated every year, 21st of March, being the third month, to represent 21-3. Now, this condition, that extra chromosome is responsible for all the abnormalities you see in people with Down syndrome. I jokingly say all the time that there are 46 ways the same, but only different in only one way. But because of the way the world is, we focus on that difference. We don't see the similarities. She's a human being. When I talk to children, I tell them, is she not a human being like you? Does she have blood flowing in her body? They'll say yes. I say, okay. Does she have nose? Does she have hand? Okay. You see all the things she has just like you. Then look at the things she doesn't have like you. She doesn't communicate like you. Oh, her neckline and everything is not like you. Her nasal bridge is not like you. Her eyes are slanty, maybe not exactly like yours. Her palm, the creases on her palm, like you can see my palm. For those with Down syndrome, it's just flat, and then the creases are just two, running across like that, just two. So those things, there are lots of differences about them, but like Down syndrome, autism, all these conditions, there's something they call comorbidity. So a child can have Down syndrome and have autism at the same time. A child can have Down syndrome and have cerebral palsy at the same time. And there are other things like maybe seizure and other things that could affect some of these children. But Mimi is lucky; she didn't come with most of these complications. Children with Down syndrome are likely to come with hole in the heart. They're likely to come with speech defects, slurred speech. Some don't have speech, some have the speech, but the speech comes very late. Generally, they catch up very slowly. They eventually get there, but everything is so slow with them. So it's an intellectual impairment, and it causes physical abnormalities: flat face, round face, small stature, short stature, broad facial profile, and some things like that. Hypotonia, sometimes soft body, flabby body, and those things may be associated with Down syndrome. They may have sleep apnea, some of them have challenges sleeping, and well, the congenital heart disease is the major challenge that they have, which sometimes is responsible for some people Down syndrome dying early. But thank God for these days, there are surgeries. These surgeries are very expensive, and it's unfortunate like that in a country like Nigeria, they are not provided for. The National Health Insurance Scheme doesn't provide for that. And so learning disability is one of the things that they grapple with. Just yesterday, I even woke up, I was really upset, I was discouraged with her learning. We have been on one spot for years in some subjects. It's really frustrating. This is one of the reasons why we don't find people with Down syndrome in school. They are very social, they are about the most social children with special needs. They are very social, they are emotionally smart, but when it comes to ability, it's so slow. It's dyslexia is one of the conditions, learning disability that's associated with Down syndrome in most cases. But now we see people with Down syndrome. To the glory of God, we see people with Down syndrome university graduates now. You see them self-advocates, they are speaking up for themselves, making cases for themselves. But here in Nigeria, most of the time, the parents get frustrated and just eventually end up taking them away from school. But you can't be paying school fees for a child 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, and the child is on one spot. And you may see someone, we have a child in our center that where she was before she's like 17, she joined us last year, where she was before she was in nursery too. I mean, they just kept her there. That kind of thing is really frustrating. And that's one of the reasons why this conversation, I God bless you, Stella, for talking about inclusion. One of the major places where people with special needs need to be included is in the school. It's in religious places of worship. They need to understand, they need to know. It takes a lot of patience, it takes lots of strategies, it takes a lot of resources to make education, accessible to them, but it is achievable. Then we move on to cerebral palsy. This is another condition I'm very passionate about. In fact, every year we hold prayer walk for cerebral palsy. Where we create massive awareness about cerebral palsy. It's a group of disorders. A lot of things, just happen, and at the end of the day, the movement, the muscles, and the posture of this particular individual is affected. While Down syndrome affects learning, CP may not, please, I'm emphasizing, may not affect learning. But children with CP are likely to have challenges in the regular classroom, in their everyday classroom, because of their muscle, because of the way they share the picture of the next person with cerebral palsy. You see her hands twisted, so she can hardly handle her pencil. So that alone is a problem in the classroom. So you can see her hands. Thank God she claps, but some of them can't even bring their hands together to clap. Some of them can't even hold the spoon. Some can, but even with the handling of the spoon, they don't want to eat in public because they are eating and the food is flying all over the place because of their muscle. Sometimes their body eats. There are different types of cerebral palsy and they affect their bodies differently. Some is one-sided, some is the whole body, some neck, even at 10 years, they're struggling with neck control. Some have neck control, but they are not working. Some is different things, their hands and everything, but intellectually, a lot of them can be sound if well exposed. And then of course, it takes a whole lot. It takes a whole lot. And cerebral palsy is the most expensive special condition to manage. The most expensive. Some children with cerebral palsy, um, even when they eat, you see their legs so tiny. Some can't even eat. Some they use tubes to feed them. Some things like injection, they inject into them. Some can't handle solid in any way. It's fluids all over. And then there are lots of associated conditions. Lots of them struggle with nasty cases of seizure. So it's another major um, condition that takes the lives of children at early age. But thank God for increased healthcare, things are getting better. It's a lot of them overcome intellectual challenges. So you see them, you have people with cerebral palsy, at least I know about like 5 of them, they are lawyers. One of them, even in our group, was called to bar last year. He's a lawyer. With cerebral palsy, wheelchair bound, but he's a lawyer. He's struggling. The parents are just like jokingly saying that they are de facto lawyers because they have to read with him. They have to go. So that's why the parenting special needs is not easy. It's not easy because you are part of the child's life. A lot of parents resign their jobs for this. Those parents, they go through his studies with him. The father, the mother, they read with him. They go through the lessons with him. There is lesson teacher. They do everything. As a special parent for a child with cerebral palsy, you are a therapist. You are, in fact, because you understand the child, you know where the seizures are coming. You are like a medical doctor. You are like a physiotherapist. You are like an occupational therapist. They need occupational therapists. They need physiotherapists. Occupational therapy, sometimes it may cost about like 7,000 naira per hour per session. Physiotherapy costs about 10,000 naira or even more per session. Now, these things are expensive and lots of parents cannot afford them. It makes parenting children with special needs, children with cerebral palsy, a very difficult thing. It makes it almost look like a nightmare. I was talking with someone and he told me that he had this parents in his platform and that they said that for like 7 years they didn't have sex or anything for 7 years because one, they were overwhelmed in the care of this child. Two, they were afraid. They didn't even want to like have another child. They were afraid. But most of these conditions are not hereditary. Autism, a little bit of genetics here and there, but Down syndrome is not hereditary. Cerebral palsy is not. CP is caused mostly 40% of the time is caused by prematurity. So when we have children with premature births, it's not something that you treat with kids' blood. The baby should be incubated. The woman should be careful. The baby should be given care to avoid this kind of thing and should be well looked after. In Nigeria, a woman delivers a baby in the morning, in the afternoon she's discharged. I think that's one of the things that I personally advocate against. I think it's wrong. The baby should be monitored, and then things like jaundice can also lead to cerebral palsy. So if baby has jaundice, don't just say, oh, treat it, make sure that this jaundice is cleared from the baby's blood, and then to avoid this kind of thing. But prematurity is one of it. There could be trauma along the line. I heard that forced delivery could also cause it, but we don't know in some cases why this happens, but it just happens. But I've talked about some ways that it can be managed is through physiotherapy, occupational therapy, a good educational program. All these sets of children I've talked about need to have um, individualized educational programs, programs that are specific, tailored to the needs of that child. So in the school day, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, and all those things are supposed to be part of the child's school day. These are not children that will just go to school the way other children go to school morning till 2 p.m. and just go and learn math, learn English, learn. It could be all the child is even doing in school. And a lot of times parents don't understand this. Parents don't understand and they are like, oh, my child is not learning, and the next day they withdraw the child from school. First of all, a child who hasn't learned about posture, who is even still, who is probably lying down on the floor, how can you teach that child? It's a bit difficult. So parents need to understand what special needs education is about and understand the interventions that their children need. And then the fourth one is dyslexia. If you see when the slide comes up, you will see a picture of someone who is looking confused, there's poor memory. You can see, oh, everybody's asking what's the problem. Is it a learning disability? Is it hyperactivity? There's speech problem, there's processing problem. You see that the child is not understanding, the child is writing his letters sometimes upside down, the memory is so poor, the child understands music, he can remember songs, he can remember everything, but cannot remember a simple lesson taught in class. This can be one of the most frustrating situations the parents can experience, and also teachers. So because my child is also struggling with this, so I know it's really, really frustrating. A lot is going on in the brain of the child. Dyslexia is just one of them. There can be dyscalculia, dyspraxia, lots of things that have to do just generally learning disorder, and it's also neurological. Nobody knows how this happened, but it's a processing disorder, and it interferes with the way a child communicates, with the way a child reasons. It interferes with memory, with the way a child learns with speech and everything. This one too, like I said before, they show for face, like autism. Most cases you don't even know. You can't even see. So when you see them in special school, you can't see why they're there. And then sometimes when their parents bring them and they see other children like with Down syndrome, it's physical. You see, it's visible. You see cerebral palsy visible. And the parents is asking you, so why should my child be here with these children? The parents look around and say, why should my child be with these children? My child is talking, my child is thinking, my child speaks good grammar, but your child cannot process, in a cognitive manner. So these are the things, basic things that this is just encapsulating what special needs is all about. And then what is inclusion? What is inclusion? So there are some ways that special needs affects society. Special needs is a term used to describe individuals who require assistance or accommodation in one or more areas of their lives. They require assistance. They require accommodation. Sometimes this inclusion we are talking about is just like creating ramps. You go to restaurants, you go to places, creating ramps. You go to the airport. I know I have friends with disability who complain that sometimes when they get to the airport, they don't want the airlines to tell them that they don't want them to fly. Or they'll say, okay, your wheelchair, this one, that one, one complaint or the other. Sometimes when the airline when the operators look at them, they think they are sick. They think they are not healthy enough to fly. So it's just creating accommodation. It's just making little adjustment to your everyday environment in such a way that these people can learn. For instance, our center is in a government school. Now, when we got there, we discovered that we just have staircase. There are no ramps in case of children with wheelchairs. So we created a ramp. We have made an accommodation. Very simple, affordable accommodation. We noticed that the school didn't have the toilets are so far away. We all know how government schools are. We all match. We went to government schools for the election, so we know how they are. The toilets are so far away, so bad, these children can't use them. Now we have to create our own toilets where our children can use these accommodations. In the classroom, like a learner like Blessing, they can introduce the use of computer. Yes, she may not be able to hold the Bible, but she can type, she can, use her fingers. So, or you use hearing aids, you use more visuals. These are small, affordable accommodations that these people need, to their maybe their anatomy, okay, wheelchair, prosthetics, whatever, just small, small things that you can do to make them function better. For the society needs to help them. The society itself will need to spend more acquiring the resources that these children need to support them, and then the special education programs go a long way to, when we are talking about inclusion, we can't talk about inclusion without talking about special needs education. Special needs education is one major way. We pray in our group, we're a prayer support group, we pray a lot, but we don't joke with education, we don't joke with trainings, because there are some things God will not come down from heaven to do. So one of the ways of managing inclusion, of making sure that we live in an inclusive society, is to make sure that there is specialized educational programs, there are specialized healthcare programs, there are assistive technologies. I saw a video of this device that this young girl could not walk. So they strapped her father strapped her to his legs and strapped her to his tummy and was walking. So as he was walking, the girl is now walking with the father and looking up. In fact, she was so excited. That was her first time of, because she had always like been on the floor. That was her first time of looking at the world from a standing position. So these are gadgets that the society can make available for people with special needs to live a normal, to live a healthy, a wholesome life. And again, it requires a lot of understanding. That's why I'm taking all this time to explain what it is, because there has to be a lot of understanding and there has to be acceptance. Most of us parents are actually the challenge. See, people with disability, is not the disability that is a challenge. What is the challenge is the discrimination. What is the challenge is the non-availability of these basic assistive aids, is the non-availability of programs and structures that can make life, easy for them. Is the stigma, is the discrimination. These are the things that makes life difficult for people with disabilities. Otherwise, they are ready to cope with their disability, and they are ready to come to terms most times with their disability, but we don't give them a chance. What is inclusion? Inclusion is the practice of ensuring that everyone, regardless of their background, abilities, or other factors, is able to participate and feel valued in society. Everyone needs to feel valued. Everyone needs to be part of the society. Everyone needs to be welcomed in the society. They have a right. And we who are, I would say, neurotypical, we who think that we are normal, we also have a responsibility to help people with disability live normal lives. It involves creating an environment that welcomes and embraces diversity. Yes, you go to school. When my daughter started school, the other parent, she was 1.5 years old, she couldn't walk, she was not crawling, she was just like turning over from her tummy. When the other parents, the school itself did not say anything that they didn't mind. But when other parents came in the afternoon to pick their children and saw this baby, rolling on her tummy, they told the school management that if you don't take this child off this class, we'll take our children off this class. Of course, the school called me, you can't have her here. I asked why. They said, we don't have the facility. I said, what facility? What facility? She's rolling. Is she rolling on anybody? When it was time to eat, they said she ate. And funny enough, she was even feeding herself at the time. Was she crying? They said she didn't cry. Was she playing? Oh, she played. So what is the problem? It's the parents who didn't allow her be. So we have to make sure that we allow them be. We break down the walls of barrier. We give them opportunity to participate. We don't make them obstacles. One of our members went to her daughter's school. It was Thanksgiving Day. And so the children were rehearsing to come out for their class presentation. So this woman was going to use the convenience and was walking past that classroom, and she overheard the teacher pointing her fingers and warning the girl that you make sure that when they call your class, when other children are coming out, don't come out. She took the girl out. The girl is in 200 level today. She's in the university. She took her out of that school. That school is even faith-based. Because most of us, we say we are Christians. But you see, we need to give them space. We need to give them room to be part of the society. We need to give them opportunity, equal opportunity to contribute and to succeed. Inclusion means breaking down barriers to participation and removing obstacles that prevent individuals with special needs from fully participating in all aspects of life, including education, employment. You don't want to employ them. Someone was sharing a story with me how she went to the restaurant and they were eating and enjoying their food. So all of a sudden, the daughter of the restaurant owner, the restaurant operator, came out from the inner room. The girl with Down syndrome. The moment one of those women eating, and she's the pastor's wife, when she saw this girl come out, she was started choking. I can't eat anymore. I can't swallow anymore. How do you think they will feel? Give them an equal opportunity to participate. Give them equal opportunity to participate. Even in church, I was speaking with a man, he's a second degree holder. He went to church. He said that anytime he goes to church, the people, until it was when he started awareness in his churches, reduced a bit. Then when he goes to church, when people come in, they avoid the bench he's sitting on. Nobody wants to sit near him. He sits alone. Give them opportunity. There's no disability in eternity. We will meet them in heaven. Oh. I don't know. The Bible says that it does not yet appear how we will be. We don't know. We are not sure how we will appear in heaven. But just imagine that we all appear in heaven the way we are now. That means that we appear like that. So if you cannot stay with them now, then we can't be with them in heaven. You have to accommodate them. A lady shared with me also her experience. She stopped going to church. I said, why? She said, because in their church, they come out to give offering, they come out to take communion, everything, they are coming out, and she can't come out. So people will just see her sitting down and they'll say, look at this one, that kind of thing. So she started feeling uncomfortable. So it means sometimes we just have to change almost everything we do to accommodate them. When we have children, when you have a baby, what do? Your baby starts crawling, starts walking, a toddler. What do? You have this, for instance, you have this sanitizer on a table, you take it and place it on a higher level. Your television, you place barricades around it. You make adjustments in it. When you go to a home that they have a little baby, you would know. Because you see the parents have adjusted this, they've adjusted that, they've taken away all sharp and dangerous objects. That is what society is supposed to do. Make adjustments, make accommodations for people that have disability. And then, inclusion. Is it possible? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Now, the next slide is a picture of children with disability who, just on the 30th, now this picture that you are seeing, just on the 30th of April, we had a runway. Then Grace was, we premiered a new thing, a runway, inclusive African runway event for children aged 6 to 16 years. Just 30th of April, we did this. 40 children were on the runway. 22 of them neurotypical children, we call them normal. 18 of them special children. Like the boy we can see in this picture, thank God, he's living with Down syndrome, but he was on the runway. We had children with autism on the runway. In fact, the girl with autism, one of the girls with autism, she didn't participate in the rehearsals, but she walked beautifully. In fact, if you look at those pictures, you wouldn't know the difference between those with special needs and those without special needs. They took it up, they worked extra hard. They worked extra hard to participate, and they did beautifully. On the other side, you can see my daughter Miracle. She met the Queen Miss World, UN. See her presenting a bouquet, and she did well, and the Queen taught them some social ethics. She taught them. Till today, she practices them. She composed herself like a lady. So what are we talking about, really? Why Why is even this inclusion such a big deal? It's not even something we should be trying to convince anybody about. Now, here I said inclusivity means not just we are allowed to be there or they are allowed to attend parties, because before people don't even invite them to parties. It's not about, okay, now they are attending parties. No, it's that they are part of it. It's that they are being valued. They know that they are valued. Won't he feel valued now? He's part of it. He's not just there. Inclusion is not tolerance. It is unquestioned acceptance. It is a right, it's not a privilege. You're not doing anybody any good by being inclusive in your attitude, in your approach. They have a right. It is not for a selected few. It is for everybody, whether the rich or the poor. Every child has a right to be included. And inclusion is beautiful. That's just it. It was so beautiful the day when we watched our children the other day. It was really beautiful seeing them. I mean, in fact, I should have even played the video. I should have even brought the video of one of the girls, the way she was walking. I think she was like almost about the best on that runway with Down syndrome, So they have a sense of purpose. They have a sense of purpose. We know people with special needs who are running their businesses and in millions, So yes, inclusion is possible and it's beautiful. Now, what makes inclusion difficult most of the time is comparison. It's because we are so quick. I think I saw something where someone was talking about maybe you put a dot on a white sheet of paper. Just put a dot on a white sheet of paper and you ask somebody, what do you see? You say, you tell me, I see the dot. He didn't see every other place, the whole space that was beautifully white. He's seen the spots. It's because we are too ready to see their shortfalls, to see their limitations, to see the things that they are struggling with. Let me tell you, even you that you have your hands, your nose, your legs, everything about you complete, you struggle with life. Not to talk about this one. I know a child with cerebral palsy, is deaf, he has speech impediment, he's blind, he's crippled. Look at it now. See what this person is struggling with. See what his parents is struggling with. And you go with your own, intimidating the person, discriminating against the person, staring at the person, talking back. I go to church with my child sometimes. You see other children laughing, they'll be pointing out to their parents. The parents will be looking and laughing. Come on, adults. We can actually do better. They can actually do better. So it's the comparison. It's because you already see what you think and disability is a perception. Disability is a perception. You already perceive that this person is can't do this. This person is disabled, he can't do this. If we stop the comparison, we will end discrimination and we would have embraced acceptance and inclusion. Now, there's some small secrets I want special parents to know. And what these things I'm talking about is not actually that a special parent to know. I'm just saying that there are some things that everybody listening to me needs to know. That people with disability need love. Starting from the parents, you, father, you, mother listening to me, love that child. Love that child, accept that child. The discrimination of a child, especially, starts from the home. They don't appear in family album. Children with disability in most cases. You go to their parents' social media, someone was telling me that some people will say they are special parents. When you go to their social media handles, you don't see that one picture of that child, but you see pictures of the others. Every little thing the other children do, they celebrate. This ones do, they don't celebrate. Even this wrong way we did. Some of the parents, especially, they didn't even make one post about this thing in their social media handles. If you don't celebrate your child, who will? If you don't advocate for your child, who will? As a special parent, automatically you are an advocate because you need to make a case for your child in school, in the healthcare system, everywhere. Until the Bible says that we should not keep quiet until our Jerusalem becomes a praise upon the earth. You don't keep quiet until what you want to see happens. And then, so love, you have to love. Love yourself. You, the parents, love yourself. Accept your child's condition. Come to terms with it. Love your child. Love your child. If you can't love your child, you can't even help the child. So love your child and don't lose your identity. Don't lose your sexuality. Still be a woman. Still look attractive. Still have fun, still have joy, still be a man. Don't lose your self-confidence. You didn't do anything wrong. I always tell people, Miracle is my third child. It was the same situation, my first and my second, and she. There's nothing I did differently. I didn't take her. In fact, I was telling someone that just like Apostle Paul said, if it's a boast to the glory of God, I said I can boast that in all my life, I've never taken alcohol in my life since I was born. In all my life, this is my 23rd year in marriage. I've never for one day taken any form of contraceptive. Are you hearing me? She didn't come because I took a kind of contraceptive that made things to go wrong. She didn't come because I took drugs, I took alcohol. She didn't come because I tried to abort the pregnancy. She just came because God gave her to me as a precious gift. So love yourself and don't allow this thing to affect your marriage. Train your child. One of my friends was telling me that she has a child with cerebral palsy. The girl is blind and everything, but she said that the girl arranges her clothes in her wardrobe. She keeps her room neat, arranges her clothes in her wardrobe. So train your child. The ultimate is that you see special needs education. We are not there to be teaching ABC. Yes, we teach Joseph, but that's not our focus. Our focus is to help our children gain independence because we are not going to be there forever. We are not Methuselah. Yeah, we are not Methuselah. So we have to make sure that our children gain independence. So that when we are not there, even when we are there and we are so old, they can. And of course, this is my miracle. She will marry you. She will marry. She will attain. She has to attain independence. She will run her home. I have a responsibility to nurture her. We nurture our other children. We train them. I've been following this conference. People have been talking about training. But lots of parents, especially, don't bother training the children. They think that the children can't absorb learning. Now lie. They can. They are trainable. Is that okay? And explore, ask questions. Just before we came online, I was talking to someone. I was telling her, please remind me, I need to ask some people questions. Every day we learn and unlearn. We train and keep training. I can speak on cerebral palsy for 3 hours non-stop. I can talk about autism for 5 hours non-stop. My daughter doesn't live in these conditions. But you keep learning. You keep exploring. Sometimes what works here can be applied there. Do you understand? So we keep learning, we keep asking questions, and then ask for help. Don't be shy to ask for help. And don't feel guilty that, oh, my child is like this. You are not responsible. And you are not responsible for the shortcomings too. Ask for help. You can't, the routine care, these children need a lot of care. Children with cerebral palsy, they need lots of care. Sometimes you can spend 2 hours feeding the child. Ask for help. Delegate responsibility so that you can rest, so that you can go out with your husband, so that you can go and make your hair, so that you can go and watch a movie, so that your life can continue. Your life shouldn't stand still because you have a special child. And then there are 8 basic tips for special needs parenting. Be positive. Be positive about this. Be positive about. That's one of the things that helped me immediately. I mourned. I felt bad. I lamented the situation for 1 or 2 weeks. Immediately I got back. By the time she was 3 weeks, I went back. I'm a Sunday school teacher in church. I carried this girl at 3 weeks. I went back to Sunday school. I dropped her somewhere in class, and I started teaching. My life continued immediately. So get on with your life. Seek professional help. Don't over spiritualize this thing. Don't start praying. We pray, but as you are praying, be seeking for help. Ask questions. Go to doctors, read books. No, Google self alone is a teacher. Seek professional help on what to do, what kind of schools will work for your child, what kind of healthcare programs will work for your child. Seek professional help and be willing to make sacrifices. These things are not just only for us as special parents. You listening to me, you may not be a special parent, but you can help a special parent. You can help guide a special parent. Some people have nephews, nieces with special needs. So you can help. Be willing to make sacrifices. One of our parents said that she doesn't buy Ashoebi because our child has need of so many teachers. Like at my family, I know how much we spend for our child's education. Even yesterday, my husband was asking me, all these lesson teachers are far. Lesson here, this one there, buying resources. You have to be willing to make sacrifices. Cut down on some, those times you spend going to attend village meetings and all those, so that you can be there, because you need to be part of your child's education. I'm talking to myself too. Sometimes I draw back when I say I'm jumping from here to here, here to there, because I need to draw back. You need to be part of what they do, their assignments, their schoolwork. We have parents, in fact, that are not, I know of some parents, they don't even open their children's school bag. They don't, the children will be done with all their homework. They don't even want to know that the children have homework or whatever. Even our neurotypical children, our children that are normal, that according to us, in quotes now, when they come out from school, don't we engage them in private lesson? Apart from private lesson, don't we also teach them? Don't we do our homework, their homeworks with them? If we can do these things, we can make sacrifices on our time. A lot of us are Christians, and that's another issue with this thing. I'm a Christian, but it's also an issue. A lot of us, when we are calling for trainings to train children, to equip parents to take care of the children, they say, oh, I'm going for choir practice, or I'm going for this one, or I'm going for this one, or I'm going for this one. You are going here and there. This child was put in your care. Remember the man in the Bible? At the end of it all, when God asked about the child, he cannot tell him, oh, I was busy going here and there. You be the everything. You be a teacher. You be all to your child. So make sacrifices and admit that your child has needs. Admit your child needs more attention than others. This child is going to need more attention than your other children. You just have to admit that. Know the specific needs of your child. You have to understand. You have to read about the condition of your child. If you don't read about the conditions of your child, you can't be able to do anything about it. I read somewhere, someone was asking, how do I relate with my 7-year-old child, for instance, with CP? What's the big deal? You relate to that child the way you relate to any other child. I relate with my child the way I relate with my other children. There is absolutely no difference in the way I relate with her. Yes, some cases are more severe, because when we talk about disability, I must admit that there are some severe cases. Some cases are profound, they are severe. So those cases, yes, I know it's not that easy, but we still work around them. Is that okay? So we just have to find a way around them, but communicate with your child. Know the needs of your child. Know where your child needs help, and look for ways to go about it. Take informed educational decisions. Education is one of the major windows that will take your child out of obscurity. So you must take informed educational decisions. A lot of parents still insist on taking their children to fancy schools. It's not about the child being in a fancy school. It's about the child being in an environment where learning is taking place. The moment you notice that your child is in a place where learning is not taking place, you have to take action. My child, almost every day I'm with the teachers. Learning must take place for my daughter. She must move forward. She's not there to be counted as number. Sometimes when I ask them, how is my child doing? They say, oh, she's doing well. She's always sweeping the class. I didn't send her to school to sweep the class. I didn't send her to sweep the class. Do you understand? So take informed decisions. Learn about other forms of disability. This will help us. I've said that before. Prepare to take care of the child yourself. Don't just think that it's another person's responsibility. It's not the responsibility of the teacher. You have to be part, you have to be involved in the child's life. As a special parent, you cannot run away from this one. A lot of parents don't want to hear this one. Be part of your child's life. Let me tell you, even if you have a housekeeper and you train the housekeeper to help you with that child, eventually at one point that housekeeper will move on with her own life. So you have to be part of the child's life. And then special needs parenting is not something that we pay lip service to. Inclusion is not what we pay lip service to. Everybody listening to me, know that we don't pay lip service to inclusion. We have to make inclusion happen. We have to be intentional about making inclusion happen. I spoke about the new school we started. Yes, we have the special needs school. We said, okay, let's now have an inclusive arm. I talked about the runway events we had. Every time people ask me in interviews, what can people with Down syndrome do? I said, okay, I've seen that abroad, they're into movies. I see that abroad, they are into modeling. They model 5-star brands abroad. And then I told myself, okay, you have been talking about this modeling. Okay, give them an opportunity. Do you understand? So I'm not just talking about it. I made it happen. It happened. Our moderator for the day, Asha, was part of the program. It happened. They shouted in one way beautifully. Not one of them had a tantrum. Not one of them had a meltdown. They were not scared. They were bold and confident. It happened. Let's make it happen. Let's make inclusion happen. Let's not pay lip service to it. A lot of times with inclusive education, we have our national. Do you know that we have a national policy on inclusive education in Nigeria? But it's just a policy, just in the books. We have to make sure that it actually happens. A lot of schools now, the private schools, they are trying to drive the process. They say, "Oh, our school is inclusive." If you go there, my brother, my sister, you look deeply, it's not inclusive. They have one fancy big school. They have one corner, just one small block or somewhere in the school. They say it's a center, and these children, especially, are there. At the end of it all, there is no mingling. It's not a proper inclusive setting. Inclusion has to be total. Inclusion has to be total. In church, there must be inclusion. Wherever our children, in the mosques, there must be inclusion. And then I raised a question. I said, did you know that the more you focus on what the child cannot do, the more counterproductive he or she becomes? It's a question. That's supposed to be a question mark then. Let's stop focusing. Let's take our eyes off what the child cannot do. You, the parent listening to me, take your eyes off what your child cannot do. It's not easy. Like I told you, for even myself, I even had a breakdown yesterday over this. It's not easy. But then I started thinking through it, and one or two people spoke to me. Oh, she cannot do her numbers, but she was in the wrong way. She cannot do her numbers. She just finished from a vocational training. She was able to do slippers. She learned how to do slippers. She learned how to do tie and dye. Okay, she cannot do this, but she can do this. You know, that kind of thing. It helps us to, overcome these challenges and move on. Take your eyes off what the child cannot do. Take your eyes off the limitations of your child. And then finally, I would say raising the child with additional needs is a Herculean task. It's not easy. Honestly, it's not an easy journey. I won't wish it for my enemy. That's the truth. Forget all the bone face. Forget the bone face. I won't wish it for my enemy. I don't wish it for my enemy. It's a Herculean task. Because when you have a baby, 1 month, 1 year, from 1 year, you probably have weaned the baby from sucking, and then they are moving on. 1.5 years, 2 years, you have weaned the baby from wearing diapers, baby is toilet trained, baby is moving on. Imagine at some children at 9 years, you are still buying diapers. At 9 years, 10 years, you are still carrying the child on your back. If your child lives with cerebral palsy and cannot walk, child is still carrying the child on your back. It's not easy. You're still waiting for your child. The woman that's always talking about her daughter on Facebook, 20-year-old girl with Down syndrome. She's a model, she's beautiful. The mother said the truth is she cannot still handle her baby routine for herself. Imagine the 20-year-old girl. When you see her with her handbag and everything, I mean, this girl, she can pose for Africa. But then, see what? It's not easy. It's a Herculean task. So the society needs to be kind to parents going through this. Parents need to be kind to themselves and to be kind to the children. It is a holistic communal engagement that will solve the problem. A holistic communal engagement. Everybody needs to be involved. A holistic approach will make it easier. It will bring beauty out of ashes. That's why it's supposed to be ashes, not ash. My final word is that the end result of any special journey is societal acceptance and inclusion. Is inclusion possible? Yes. The end result of any special journey is societal acceptance. That's what we want. Societal acceptance, we want inclusion. You can see from the picture on that slide, that's School of Grace. You can see our children. Here we have children with cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, autism. We have a boy in that picture, his hearing impairment. You wonder how he gets the beats. He dances to the rhythm. He's hearing impaired. That's my miracle baby over there. I mean, 6 tons now. I mean, can you beat that one? That's a dance presentation. And these children, they've taken their presentations outside. I mean, they present in big occasions, big functions. Inclusion is possible. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. It's not that expensive. Inclusion can happen if you let it. Thank you very much for coining this topic. Thank you for having me.
hear me? Hello? Okay. Thank you so much, Ma, for this wonderful time. It was really mind explosive and so much to learn. Like you have said earlier, this is not just for um, parents that have children with special needs. It's actually for everybody because most of the things they and the way you want us, like you have said that we should take care of them, it's still the same thing like a normal or a usual parent that we have to do the same thing. So I have a question for you, Ma. At what stage do we discover that our children have either autism or cerebral palsy or any of the like call it disability or those special needs? Let me use that word.
Yeah, it can actually be at any age. There's no specific age. Like I said earlier, for those without autism, it doesn't. They come. I mean, just like every other child, and their milestones. They may meet their milestones. Some if occasionally some may not, but in most cases they have perfect milestones, and then they begin to like a kind of regression when they get to maybe 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, he begins begin to notice these things for autism. And then for some parents who are not that observant, it could even be later. I read the story of a woman sharing her experience with her daughter. She said that um, the girl was talking, the girl was playing, the girl would come and hug her, would hold the daddy by the leg when he comes back from work. And suddenly this thing stopped. But she didn't take note of them. Not until one day she went to the park, but she noticed that the girl started was always crying like unnecessarily. And when they visit family, she didn't want like extended family, whatever. She would cry, she would cry. Whenever they go out, the girl will make them not have fun. But one day she went to the park and she was swinging the girl and trying to play with the girl. And an elderly woman walked past and said, "So she looks like such an unhappy child." That was all. Oh. She picked it. It now, it's that statement spoke to her. She was not like, really, this child does not smile. Really, this child does not, play like other children. And she started observing the child. That was when she sat back, she now noticed that was was unhappy. She now started going through their family pictures and their family videos. She now went back to the girl's first year birthday. She saw that the child was crying, the child didn't enjoy the birthday. She now started putting things together. At that time, autism was not common. She didn't no doctor that time could like easily diagnose autism. So she had to read and travel all over until she got an answer. But for cerebral palsy, sometimes the parents begin to notice that there's no neck control. Because like we said, it affects posture, muscle, no neck control. Child is not crawling when it should crawl. I know that one of the topics we'll be having today is about milestones and stuff like that. So child is not crawling when it should crawl. There's no neck control. You can see that probably child is not sucking. Like my daughter, she was not sucking properly. And I mentioned it to the doctor. The doctor was like, oh, maybe she's just lazy. She wasn't crying, with enough energy and everything. The doctor said, oh, she's just lazy. But those were red flags. Those were red flags. So the moment the parents begin to notice red flags, the milestones, the child is supposed to be clapping, is not clapping, that guys, you begin to look out. So those are some of the things with cerebral palsy, even autism, especially when you begin to notice the social behavior. You notice that all of a sudden, visitors come to your house, the child is hiding under the table. You come back from work, the child doesn't smile at you. Like my daughter, when we try to play with her, I will put her try to bounce her on my thighs. Her legs just go, because of that flabby body. I had to take her to the hospital. Just this girl, when I touched her knees, it was so soft, like she didn't even have makeup. You have to go from one scan to the other. They said, okay, madam, don't be worried. She has makeup, but it's just because of her condition. So these things are red flags that indicate us that you need to be more watchful. You didn't unmute.
Okay, Sister Asha, we can't hear you. Thank you so much, Ma, for this time. The comment section is hot. Lots of comments here, commenting, and we're grateful that you're able to enlighten us on this. A lot of people don't know, or a lot of people have decided not to pay attention. That I have discovered. While we wait for questions, I want to read out some of the things people are writing. So beautiful. Inclusion is not tolerance. That's from Ada. Busaya is saying, good to have you, Ma. Patience is saying, thank you, ATQ. Good to be here. I want to pick some of the comments. Don't lose your identity. That's from Ijoma. Lots of comments here. Great and informative teaching. So thank you so much, Ma, for doing what you do. Thank you. Um, my question I want to ask is, how do we get parents to begin to live, especially parents with children with special needs? Now, I used to mix it. I used to put the condition before the person. And thank you so much for correcting me and teaching me. Honestly, I never paid attention to that. It's children with special, not special need children. Don't put the condition before the child. All right. So I've seen parents who still don't want to accept that their children or their child has any condition. So how do we help parents go beyond the place of denial? I don't know if that's the right word, to beginning to accept and find solutions for their children. And how do we get parents to bring these children? And you said so many are hiding their children. What can we do to get parents to bring these children out or even come out so that they can get help?
Thank you very much for that question, Stella. Actually, it's one of the major challenges. I also lived in denial. So, in fact, it was when Mimi was 5 years old, I started um, exploring, asking questions about special education. Several times I would hold my phone, I want to Google, I want to Google to know more about Down syndrome. I will drop it, I'll be like, God forbid, I don't we know that kind of thing. So that's just it. The parents don't want to relate with it, but it's a reality that we must have to. I forgot in all, like I said, I forgot one key thing in the management of special needs. Thank you. This question is bringing it out. Um, Early intervention. Early intervention, it works. It goes a long way. If you start early, I always regret if I started miracle on speech therapy from like maybe 1 year or so. Like that time she started school, because she started school from a mainstream school. She was in a mainstream school she was till she was 7 before I took her to a special school. Imagine that I started early with her. I'm sure she would have overcome most of these speech impediments, even her cognitive impediment, because they have special ways of teaching them rather than just being in a general classroom. So parents, you need to accept it so that you can start early. For those of them with cerebral palsy, they need to start therapy, physiotherapy early before the muscles become so stiff. They have stiff muscles like this, so stiff. I know sometimes they have spasm, just like you're having a muscle pull. Imagine the whole body pulling, stretching, and everything. But if you start early, once the hands and everything are so stiff, it's very difficult to manage. So parents, you should, once the child, and we know, once the milestones, the child is not meeting the milestones, the child is not handling, it's not clapping, it's not having eye contact. It's not, these milestones, they are visible. They are visible. They are things that you can see, you can decode. It's just like Stella said, it's just that some parents don't pay attention. Someone shared how her son at whether 4 years stopped talking. She said it was when her mother visited. It was the mother that said, "Do you know this child has not said anything this house for the past 3 years?" She said, "Really?" She started paying attention to the child. She discovered that it was true. Because we are so busy here and there. We need to pay attention to those. Not that you are looking for it, oh. You're not going to look at the child to say, let me be looking for autism. But there are some things that just happen. You just, you'll be able to put two and two together and immediately seek for professional help. As you are running to your pastor, because the help we look for is to run to church for prayer. And then deliverance upon deliverance is the help your pastor can even give you is to help you yourself to to be stable. And if there's any financial help they can give you, anything, encouragement, just a smile, and just that's what you need. But you need to immediately engage your child in the program. Yes, instant miracles happen, and that's what we are praying for. I pray for it every day. But while we are waiting to get it, let's manage. The miracles sometimes come in the educational programs. It comes in the therapies. It comes in the little management strategies that you put in place. Yes, they're expensive, but there are still some small things. A lot of parents cry about the cost, and so they just give up. Sometimes you can learn some small things. One of our mothers, Mommy Alagwa, she learns how to take care of her child, therapy and everything herself. So there are some things that parents can do. One of the special parents, she has a second degree in international law, not special parent. She lives with cerebral palsy herself. She said that one of the things her mother did was that her mother used to give her a lot of chores to do. She said that the mother will go to the market and buy a redo, the tiny leaves, and say, begin to pick it. So as she was picking it, it was helping her find and cross postal schools and everything, was able to help her. She lives alone and she manages her house by herself. So parents need to come to terms with it, and the earlier they do that, the better. They shouldn't hide away. You didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing to be ashamed about. Even if you even did anything wrong. What about people who did things wrong and they still have beautiful children? A lot of people did all manner of things. Some people, when you even look at them, you will say, this one go marry. Some have had 10 abortions and they have perfect children. It's not about that.
Wow. Thank you so much, ma'am. I know we are learning. Please, if you are on this call live, please share. People need to hear this. Thank you, Precious. Precious is saying the society needs to hear more of this. God bless you. Ijoma is saying, how do you convince parents with special needs children to get help? How do we convince them that the help is not just in the church? They need professional help. I think that's one of the, you've said a little about it, but please, emphasis on this question, ma.
It's for them to know that the children can learn, the children are trainable, and that the children can be meaningful, can contribute meaningfully to the society. What we try to do sometimes is to show them pictures. Like last year, World Down Syndrome Day, I created 21-day awareness. What I did was to Google prominent people with Down syndrome. And I was able to, I was even thinking I will not get up to 21. I got over 50. So we shared stories per day. When you see someone, was it last year or early this year, someone with Down syndrome got an Oscar, won an Oscar award. When you see a picture like that, what else are you looking for? There's this Down syndrome couple, this couple now with Down syndrome. They are married, both of them live with Down syndrome, they are married, they are living in their own home. When you see that kind of thing, the thing is that I pity, it's more pathetic for people who are low, because one thing about special needs management, which I must say, is that for those people who are indigent parents, those who are down the economic ladder, it's not an easy story, I must admit. Because how many of them, like if you have Android phone and all these things, you have data, you go to the web net, you see all these pictures, it's encouraging for you. But for some of them, they don't have anything to see. They don't have any, they don't even know that there's anything called parent support group. They don't know that there are groups all over the world. Let me share this story. There's a girl, I was on BBC, her story. BBC, she was talking about, she was born without, without a gender. So there's no organ in her to indicate whether she's a male or a female. So the parents, they are like, for years, they didn't know what to call her. But eventually, they now started introducing her to the feminine world. So she grew up a girl. But she said that she never, when she went, the day she went open, she went to the market square and just went open with her story, because she knew if she told anybody she was going open with her story, they would discourage her. Her best friend also spoke in that interview. She said she was surprised, she didn't know, but that she noticed that this lady would never like do things like maybe undress in their presence, would never, that kind of thing. She never talked about maybe her menstrual period. She never talked about things girls talk about in the presence of anybody. So they didn't know, even some of her siblings didn't know. So once when she came open with her story, BBC took it, and she now found out that there is a community of people like that. So she was so excited. She now saw people like her. And immediately she felt like a human because she was not feeling like a human being. So the earlier parents come to terms with it and begin to look out for other parents like you, the better. They will guide you, they will tell you what they've done. There are others who have gone in that way before you. They will tell, there's a parent, Debbie Corey, that is always advising us, training. Yesterday I asked her, how do I help my daughter with this thing? She said, okay, this thing help my child. Yeah, take these links to help your child with number one. That's how we go. It's not an easy journey, but sometimes you lean on, the experiences of other people. You're sharing alone. It helps you. Nobody's going to laugh. Me now, she's about my most popular child. People accept her because of the exposure. So the better you talk about it, you expose your child, you come up with your story, the earlier you do that, the better for you. So you don't need much convincing. That is the needful thing to do. This child is not your child. You are doing that child a disservice. This child does not belong to you. The child belongs to the community. So if you don't open your child up for help, at the end of it all, you will still suffer for it because they are not going to be there forever, and that child is going to be a liability to his or her siblings.
Wow. Thank you so much, ma. So, excuse me, so much value gotten. I know you have learned a lot. I have too. I don't get tired listening to Auntie Bibi. We call her Auntie Bibi. I don't get tired. Yeah, the society needs to hear more of this. God bless you, ma. Somebody saying, good talk. More grace, ma. That's from Victoria. Thank you so much. So before we go, ma, I two more questions I think I want to ask while we wait for if there is any more questions. It's myths. There are lots of myths surrounding special need children. You see people who say if you look at one when you're pregnant, something will happen to you. Someone is getting rich, just had a major break after a child with special need is born, and the family says, you don't use and do juju. So how do we help people just know that these children sitting close to them, they're not, it's not an infectious disease?
Not
Because even
infectious.
in modern days, educated people still believe in some of these myths.
A lot of educated people still do, and it's so sad. It's not contagious, it's not infectious. The special needs, maybe COVID, though. Even the COVID that they said it was highly infectious, were we not living with it? It's not contagious. That was what I asked the teachers when they asked my child not to come to school. I said, whatever she's living with, is it contagious? But someone has told me that a teacher resigned. The moment she was pregnant, she resigned from a special needs school because she was afraid of having a child with disability. We have had a teacher like that in our center. Eventually, she said that something happened, she just stopped coming. But her friends told me that every time she visited her, stopped coming. That one said, I'm sure it's her husband. He said when she visited her, that she said she used to hear the husband say, there's a way he used to call that school, called our center, that your school, like it's a bad place. It's a bad place. And when things are not happening well in the house, he will say it's because of that thing that she has associated with. So a lot of people think that way. It has nothing to do with them. Even nurses. I've also heard about a nurse in the hospital who refused to attend to a child with special needs. She said she didn't want. So these things happen. It's not, I don't even know how to say it again. It's not contagious in any way.
Thank you so much, Ma. Itunu is saying, God bless you, Ma. The Lord is your strength, Ma. Amen. Amen. So before you go, Ma, I would like to hear the things you're doing. I know you are a strong advocate for children with special needs. Okay, somebody's asking, what are the chances of them finding love? Is it possible? There's a question.
I just thought about the person, the couple with Down syndrome who are married. They find out they are married. People with cerebral palsy are they are married with beautiful children, Not just that they find love, they get married. They can be fathers and mothers. For young men with Down syndrome, I have read, I'm not sure, it's not, I can't authenticate that their fertility rate may be a bit low. For those of them with Down syndrome, the male, I heard that their fertility rate is low, but they get married, they can find love. They find love. They even love they themselves. They are love. They themselves are so loving. They're so caring. So yes, they find love. We had this kind of conversation in our group 2 months ago, the February edition, and a young lady with disability was sharing her experience in love. They find love. I've heard one of them say that, look, if I'm not married, it's not because I can't find love, it's that I've not found the right person. So yeah, they can handle romantic relationships. Yes.
Yeah, they can find love. I think 2 or 3 months ago, I was in the market and I saw a Down syndrome man in the market with his wife, and they were shopping together. They were shopping together, so they can find love. And he had a very beautiful wife. Although people kept looking at them, but I think with more awareness, people will come to terms with the fact that these people are human. They are human. They can find
There
love.
was a wedding last year in Nigeria, in Lagos. Two people with autism. They got. There was a wedding. No, this young man with autism. I think he married. I'm not sure now if the lady had autism too, but he had. I know that he had autism. They got married in Nigeria. It happens. Yeah.
So yeah, as you can see,
Why if sorry, if we don't see them even getting married as much as they should, it's because of the societal stigma. That would be the problem. Not that they cannot marry, it's the stigma. Because the families they want to go into, they will pull the ears waiting. Now this one you see, they may say no, we will not agree. The parents will say no, we don't agree, that kind of thing. It is more of that than their inability to find love.
thank you so much, Mark. So Auntie Bibi does a lot of things for special needs children. She runs a school, she has an advocacy group, she has a support group for parents. Please, Mark, can you tell us more about the things you do and how we can reach you? We don't need to hide these children anymore. If you are hiding them, you're doing yourself and that child a disservice. It's not a good thing. So reach out, speak out so that you can get help. So Ma, please tell us the things you do and how you can be reached with your groups, on your groups.
Thank you. So the name of the group is the Grace Ones Advocacy and Prayer Support and Advocacy Initiative. Then Grace Ones, that's the group. So what we do, first of all, we're a prayer group. That's how we started. We just started praying. I just spoke to one or two parents, children, special needs, and then just other people in this I saw around church and I know love children. So okay, let's come together. So we pray almost every day, and then we hold monthly prayer meetings, and then we hold lots of advocacy. Like March, we had intensive advocacy for Down syndrome. We take the days, the months by high traffic, because March is a World Down Syndrome Day. It's not Down Syndrome Awareness Month. It's just World Down Syndrome. So, but we on our own decided to take it as an awareness month. So for 21 days, for like this particular year, I was sharing about the different aspects of Down syndrome parenting. I talked about about it from the point of view of the parent. When you get to know, sorry, you asked a question earlier about if people can, when it comes to Down syndrome, yes, even from pregnancy, Down syndrome is about the only special condition that can be diagnosed even from pregnancy. There are some tests that the woman can take, but in some countries this is abused because they now kind of discourage them from having the children and try to promote the abortion of those pregnancies, which people with Down syndrome are seriously kicking against, they're advocating for it, they are self-advocating against that practice. And then um, but one of the gains of knowing ahead of time is that they quickly introduce you to support groups and prepare your mind for what is to come. So I belong to some groups where a woman, the baby just comes out a few hours and she's already posting this picture and saying, "Oh, I love my cutie," that kind of thing. We pray that Nigeria gets to that level. Down syndrome can be easily diagnosed, but it's like me at 3 weeks, the doctor was able to find her out, because of the nasal bridge, the low set ears, her slanted eyes and all those things. But it takes an experienced doctor. Lots of doctors in Nigeria still don't know. I've seen people on the day I went to vote for presidential election this year. I saw a woman with a girl, a 7-year-old child with Down syndrome in Abuja. This Abuja here. Abuja. I was talking to her. She said she didn't So we still have these things. But it's not for us to immediately see that kind of parents. I must add this. The fact that you're able to pick out something does not mean that immediately you see it, you start telling the parent, your child has autism. Your child, no. It is left for the doctors to tell the person. So back to what we do. These are some of the things we do. When we see, like I saw her, I tried to call, even yesterday she was in our center, 2 days ago. So when we see them like that, we try to engage them in conversations and then try to draw them close. You say, there's an NGO, come. When they come, they will now see, we try to make them know. So we do a lot of advocacy. World first October every year we do massive awareness for cerebral palsy. April 2, we did some beautiful awareness creation concerning them, sharing practical stories on autism. So we do all of this. We hold a lot of trainings. Even next week, because we have children that we are raising as young advocates to talk about special needs, to advocate for special needs, because we are talking to the adults. We know how it is with adults. So working with children sometimes is easier. So we go to schools, we have advocacy clubs in schools, we educate the teachers and prepare their minds to receive such children. And then we prepare the children to their minds so that when such children start coming, they will not, be scared or go home to tell their parents. Because it's the children sometimes that go to their parents, there's one funny looking boy in my class. So we have those kind of advocacies that we do to sensitize children. And next week, Thursday, some of these children will be speaking for 3 minutes on what they will be telling the president, the incoming president of Nigeria, what they want him to know about inclusion, what they want the president to know about disability and about children like themselves. So these are some of the things we do. We do lots of trainings for parents. We train parents. Just last month, we completed an empowerment program. We are being helped. The Leprosy Mission Nigeria is helping us through Lillian Funds, through the Leprosy Mission is helping us. We just equipped 22 parents with vocational skills so that they can to support them to care for their children, because we know that there's a lot of financial responsibility care for these children. So these are some of the things that we do. Then, of course, the School of Grace is in Chikwe, Abuja. It's an inclusive center. Sorry, it's a special needs center, but we also run vocational programs for them. So apart from teaching them academics, they work with their hands. We do shoemaking in that school. We do art. They do hair making, tailoring, catering, and a lot, about 7 different things we do. And then, like I said, we just inclusive school as well.
Thank you so much, Ma. You've had it all. You can't hide that. If you live in this environment, Jikoi, Karo, Kurudu, please, Nyanya, there's a school. So if you see any of such child, remember she said it's not your duty to tell the parents that this child has a condition. The best you can do is advise them to go seek for proper diagnosis. And then when they are back with their diagnosis, you can now advise them on schools. They can put their children, this is one of such schools. They can join this this advocacy group. I am a member of that advocacy group, and a lot of things are happening there. And there are lots of testimonies also happening there. So we have another question, ma, here. It says, if they get married, is there not a possibility of having special needs children?
In most cases, no. Like I said before, it's not hereditary. But however, when it comes to autism, I'm a bit careful to answer that question because in some cases we see in one family 2 cases of autism, 3 cases, So, but generally, it is not hereditary at all. I mean, there are cases of people with cerebral palsy who are married and have children and they don't have any of those. There was a time a story was trending on social media. A man with um, Down syndrome, his son is a medical doctor or something like that. So it's not.
You've had it all. Yeah, Ijoma is saying thank you for the correction, ma. Children with special needs. Yes, I had to learn that, and I just learned it last week. That you put the child before the condition, not the condition before the child. Okay, God bless you hugely, ma'am, for this insightful session. This is wall breaking. Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless you all for coming. I told you today, 2 sessions are dedicated to children with special parents of children with special needs, and also everyone involved with taking care of children with special needs. You don't need to have one to be here to learn. You don't need to. I don't have one, but I have decided to know because I work with children. I am a Sunday school teacher, so I meet them in church. Part of our advocacy is that these children should be allowed to worship God. There should be churches should be designed to accommodate children with special needs. So you can take this message back to your church. Take it back to your church that these children they shouldn't be locked out of the church gates because of the way they look. They should be given an opportunity to worship God. They can give them their own church, give them their own class, and all that. Bring in special, train the Sunday school teachers to be able to
Exactly.
take care of these children. There's a whole lot that needs to be done. By the grace of God, we have one in my own Sunday school, and she advocated for it until it was done. So now our children with special needs in my church are not, in fact, you dare not. How do you treat them as though they don't matter? They have their class. In fact, sometimes if they envy them, because their own class is finer. It's final. Let's say the truth. It's final because a lot of things are put in place so that they can learn. So this afternoon, 2 p.m. will be the topic for 2 p.m. 2 p.m. is communication milestones in children, spotting communication disorders and what to do. You can't assume that your child communicates well until the child has been diagnosed. But then let's learn, get knowledge. Looking forward to seeing you 2 p.m. Thank you once again for being here with us today. I know you have learned a lot. Me too, I have. So thank you so much once again. Please join our community. Join ATQ answering tough questions from children and teens. What do we do there? We answer tough questions. Questions our children are asking their concerns, and we have meaningful conversations. We help parents, we equip parents to be able to also answer these questions through our numerous programs. Please, if you have not joined us, please join. And once again, I want to plead that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, on our Facebook page, and also share. Share. Let this message go round. Don't just come and watch and go. Please don't be selfish. Share this message so that many more people can hear and learn. Okay. Thank you once again for being here. See you by 2 p.m. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.